We have a ton of books that we collected through the last session that we didn't end up finishing, so we're going to start by reading through those. So we're going to start with some reading, like I said. We're just going to catch up on these books. I mean, there's still quite a few of them, so get ready for this. So this letter, an affectionate letter, probably. I don't even remember where we found this. Hey, idiot. You left a snot rag on my kitchen table. I haven't thrown it out yet. A lot of times I want to push you into a pit of snakes. But sometimes you say something so stupid and funny, I think about it for days. Don't panic. Let's talk when you're home. Be safe out there. Rhea. And this, now that I'm remembering, was found in the body of a dead flaming fist, which is really upsetting. It's kind of like the letter that we found at the beginning of the game on the dead fisherman. Hey, low bass, how's it going? Bass. Bass? Low bass. Sorry. How you doing tonight? I'm doing pretty well, thanks for asking, friend. Just doing some reading through Baldur's Gate. I come in the room and the first thing I hear is idiot. I thought I showed up at my dad's house. Oh my god. Dark. Holy hell. Got right into it, huh? No cause for alarm. Every page of this clumsily assembled book is filled with large, blocky text. An illustration of a burning city introduces this book's frenzied summary of Eltergard's recent history. Remember, Eltergard is the tiefling city that sank into the hells. People of the Sword Coast, there is no cause for alarm. You have no doubt heard of the harrowing events that befell the city of Elturel. An entire city dispatched to the hells. Perhaps you have also heard the deranged gossip and rumors that a similar cataclysmic atrocity may befall the city of Baldur's Gate. Have no fear. The so-called holy city of Elturel has in fact long been a foul pit of devil worshippers. From the ruling classes to the common folk, the citizens were all touched by the infernal. Whether it was in their blood from birth, or they were seduced by its power, they were evil to their core. Elturel invited its own doom. Baldur's Gate is far from perfect, but anyone who believes the rot runs as deep as an Elturel is either mad or is an Elturgardian propagandist. The Fists will defend our city with their very lives if they must, and I promise you that no infernal conspiracies infect the minds and souls of our noble dukes and patriarchs. A history of contempt. Have we already forgotten that before this latest madness, Elturel was infested with the undead? Should we forget the aggressive expansion of Elturgard? They have never been our friends. Vigilance will protect us. Do not be alarmed. More crazy propaganda from people prattling on about how evil tieflings are with, it's just more racist bullshit. They throw this in here in this game, but they don't, direct it necessarily. It's just it exists. It's a thing that people have to deal with, but you don't have to deal with it too much. It's not like Pillars of Eternity where it's constantly thrown in your face. Face cam is way out of sync with your mic audio. I know, dude. That's a problem with streaming on the Xbox. It's always how it is. Until I can get a capture card and start streaming from the PC, it's just something that I have to accept, which sucks. A tight, professional memo written with care. Gomwick. Oh, this was on the body of Gomwick, who is Scratch's prior owner. Be doubly careful on the way back to Baldur's Gate. I've received more reports of attacks on travelers throughout the region. I can't have my best messenger winding up face down in a ditch somewhere. Watch yourself. Better late than never. Postmaster General Danzo. And then we have this recruitment poster, which we've already read, one of those. Shipment orders. This is this was what starts the quest that we skipped, the one that I recommended we wait until we're at least level 4, going up north of the Risen Road. So if you read this in its entirety, it explains what the quest is about. Not fully, but at least gives you a clue. Deliver the chest to me unopened. Read the first sentence again. Open it, and I will know, because you will be dead. This is not a threat. This is what will happen if you open the chest. NF. Soft letter. This was also on the body of Gomwick. Excited, looping letters fill this message of hope and love. If you haven't figured it out yet, Gomwick was a postman. Davin. It's a boy. He's healthy and perfect. I've named him after his father. Come back and see us as soon as you can get leave. Love, Flora, and Davin Jr. So there's a dad out there who will never know that he's a dad. Very sad day. Stained book. This book is redolent with the enticing smell of paper and ink. This is like their base description, the enticing smell of paper and ink. You'll get that in a lot of books where they just kind of either forget or didn't bother to do like a real subtext. This is the one. This is found on the body of a burnt goblin inside Joaquin's Rest, and I think it's so funny. Greet your inner Goliath. Gnat. Knee grabber. Half shanks. Stones cast by your enemies designed to keep you down, or stepping stones so you can rise above. Inside every gnome lies an inner Goliath. By setting aside doubt, negativity, and a modest subscription fee, you too can learn to grow, inside and out. Details over leaf. Don't delay. Harness your hidden height, and watch your enemies shrink before you. It's just like the most ridiculous. I'm sorry, I said goblin, but I meant gnome. It's it's like one of those, harness your inner strength kind of situation. I just think it's so funny. Goliaths, for those of you that don't know, because they're not actually in this game, to my knowledge, Goliaths are a Dungeons and Dragons race, and they're actually my favorite race. They're like 9 feet tall, super powerful. They're like kind of like orcs, but slightly different backstories. Incredible in the Dungeons and Dragons series. They're one of my favorite races to play. Stolen property. Reward offered. A poster on fine paper clearly produced by a publisher of some means. This was behind the burning in Joaquin's Rest, that little slight detour that we took. In an act of craven vandalism that has not been diminished by the intervening years, the statue of the beloved ranger was callously torn from the central marketplace in Baldur's Gate, and is still yet to be found. Though it has been some time since a replica was erected in its place, the collective of concerned citizens of the Wide remains convinced that the original statue is still out there somewhere, and is willing to bestow a hefty sum upon whomever might assist with its retrieval, no questions asked. We urge the thieves in question to consider. This art piece was commissioned not to offend, but to inspire. Indeed, the bold adventurer depicted is no real person, living or dead, but a metaphor for the city itself, standing solid and stern upon his foundations, gazing outward, but still clutching tight to his heart the warmth of hope, represented here as a small and furry hamster. Please find the hope in your own heart, and return to a blighted city its beloved ranger. Raise a hand and help, and we shall fill it with gold. I don't know what this game, like, what the developers, there's so many little clues about, like, hamsters in this game, and I think it's a nod to a creature that was in a past game, but I couldn't tell you what the story there is, and I wish I knew, because I do think it's kind of funny. Hey, okay, how you doing today? It is it Boo? Who's Boo? Is it reference to Boo? That name does sound familiar. Hey, Dark, welcome. How you doing today, my friend? Playing the game, talk to us, and typing in the chat at the same time. Serious multitasking. ADHD for the wind, my friend. That is all this is. Tarbell's Guide to Distractions. A much-read guide to chicanery, stagecraft, and earning a quick coin. Ooh, I've actually never read this. This is the one that we bought off of Mattis. A comprehensive and practical guide to the craft of stage magic called Tarbell's Guide to Distractions. Creased pages indicate a much-read excerpt entitled Making Money with Magic. The wise magician knows never to perform for free. Too many already rush to call our craft cheap or second-rate, and point to archwizards as true masters of the arcane. Indeed, should any of those fine personages ever descend from their lofty towers to catch a show, they too think to lecture humble practitioners on matters of the art. The wise magician nods, smiles, and gently reminds such luminaries that true magic does not derive from staffs, grimoires, or very fine hats, but from hard work and persistence to the craft. This ought to inspire a response of such animated and gesticulated proportion that your assistant will have ample time to rifle through overburdened pockets. Thus, the wise magician demonstrates the importance of a good distraction, and the archwizard learns a valuable lesson in humility. I like that. That was good. The Approachable East, Volume 3, a stained journal recording Ryan Forbeck's travels across the land. If I remember correctly, there's like 6 or 7 of these books, and I mean, I could save them to read them in order, but I'll just call them out when I find them. I knew the Gur as traveling folk with a reputation for fortune-telling, but you only start to know a people when you sit down and share a tale. Gur are a nomadic folk in this. Sort of like gypsies, but not. That's kind of who they're based off of. At the side of a road over a pot of bubbling stew, they told me they were the children of Selûne, and claim a history stretching back to ancient Rashomon itself. Gur legend tells of 2 young Wycleran witches who refused to follow the instruction of their elders. In frustration, the older witches turned the young maidens into songbirds and locked them in a golden cage, saying if they refused to learn, at least they could make music. But the Wycleran escaped and flew across Faerûn. Eventually exhausted, they landed in the garden of a cleric, who blessed them in the name of Selûne, breaking the curse and transforming them back into human form. Since then, they have been Selûne's children. All Gur peoples trace their line back to these young maidens. Indeed, some Gur matriarchs even take maiden as a title. Of course, as the beloved of Selûne, they no longer practice the Wycleran's witchcraft, but some say it remains in the blood, that it lets them catch glimpses of the future. It was a magnificent tale, and some excellent stew, but was any of it true? I shall investigate when I reach Rashomon. Perhaps they tell a different story. Don't quote me on this, but I think he's a halfling who has never left Baldur's Gate, and one day decides, you know what, I'm gonna just start walking and travel and explore and see the world and write about my adventurers as he travels eastward. And it's a really cool tale. It tells you a little bit more about the world outside of the area that we see in the game. One of the few glimpses that we get. The gate is closed, a handbill stamped for distribution by a political group calling themselves the Keepers of the Gate. Baldur's Gate, a bastion of commerce and culture, rewarded only with corruption and catastrophe. Crime, poverty, taxation, burdens unfairly heaped upon the shoulders of the common citizenry. Thieves and outsiders grow fat on the teat, while native Baldurians starve in the street. For too long, the Grand Duke and his parliament of peers have left our gate unguarded. If you, like us, stand ready to defend it, then join like-minded individuals for a frank exchange of ideas. Join the Keepers of the Gate. Enough is enough. The gate is closed. Oh, we got the big old Treato for the goodest boy. And that is, what is that, a dancing cat? Oh my gosh, that is adorable. I love that. Paw. There he is. Good boy. He gets the big old Treato. You gotta say thank you to OK. Yeah, happiness. Look at him. He's like, do I get another? Maybe? The leadership of the Zhentarim. Ah, the Zhentarim. That's what they're called. These are traders, but they will trade anything that you want, anything that you can trade, including some illegal goods. The leadership of the Zhentarim, a battered manuscript inconsistent in color and construction. The content appears to be following up on previous material. An excerpt from the ongoing metatext Rebound. This is that very large book that we've come across a few times. Despite their protestation to the contrary, it takes no keen eye to see echoes of Banite philosophy in modern Zhentarim practice, a strict militaristic hierarchy where all power flows from the top. Who occupies that position today is the matter of some speculation, for the Black Network's leadership was thought destroyed, along with their headquarters at Zentil Keep in 1383 DR. In the following decades, however, a new base of power began to consolidate at the fortress of Darkhold, far to the south. At its center stands the Paragost, an enigmatic armored figure to whom the Zhentarim's rebirth is almost single-handedly attributed. Whoever their leader, it is clear that this new Zhentarim have not abandoned plans for domination so much as recalculated their approach. Where once their focus was on the subversion and conquest of nations, the network of today is much more concerned with establishing their stranglehold on the market, a power which crosses borders that are closed to more conventional forces. Have a good one, Low Base. Thanks for joining for a little bit. Appreciate you. I do tend to put people to sleep. I have been told that before. The Lords of Madness, Volume 4, Yeenogyu. This book of fine red leather seems ageless, but the smell of rotting flesh emanates from its pages. Of all the demon lords, few have made their mark on the world as firmly as Yeenogyu. Though his ravenous hunger is claimed to be a mindless compulsion, there is nothing mindless about the thorough insinuation of his presence in the world via his chosen, gnolls. But how are gnolls created? First, a chosen of Yeenogyu must do as their master wills. Kill. A hyena then feasts on the corpse of the chosen's victim, and a gnoll is born of the glutted belly of the hyena. Gnolls thus born are hunger manifest. They ravage any living being, tearing body and bone asunder, leaving behind only bones. They care not for wealth or material gain, only to satiate their hunger. That satiation is itself an offering to Yeenogyu, funneled directly to him. Some might envy the gnolls for such a tangible connection to their creator god, but that envy would melt to utter terror as soon as the beast's rotting breath and wicked cackles make their way through the dark of night. If you should find yourself the object of gnollish pursuit, burn your corpses, cover your scent, and pray to whoever might aid you, for there is no bribing, begging, or reasoning with hunger incarnate. So that's a very drastic and intense depiction of, I think it was last session when we came across the hyenas that were lying in the road, all of the ones that were fallen over, they were about to burst open and form into gnolls, and we stopped that from happening, but if you allow it to proceed, you actually get to witness the whole thing, and it's freaking intense. Like, super trigger warning on that one. To the good godly folk of Faerun, a neat and mass-produced notice bearing the empty scroll of Ogma. We may have read this one. No, we have not. Excellent. I need some water, though. A circular from the Church of Ogma, Lord of all knowledge. It is stamped with the seal of Brevek Fëanor, Most High Lore Master of the Unrolling Scroll Temple in Baldur's Gate. To the good godly folk of Faerun, in the first instance, and in the name of the Lord Binder himself, let me bid you thanks. The realms-shaking events that have since become known as the Second Sundering marked a time of great confusion and upheaval. Gods fell and rose again, lost continents reappeared, and the very weave shook as the plains birthed a new and yet mysterious order. Such chaos is often anathema to Ogma's sacred pursuit of truth and knowledge. However, with the help of the innumerable first-hand accounts submitted to our agents by good folk all across the continent, the Church is satisfied that an image of these strange years has begun to coalesce. As such, we would kindly ask that no further unsolicited material on this matter be sent to our temples. While all knowledge is of import to the Lord Binder, we are confident that any future plane-shaping events will not be presaged in the shape of tobacco smoke or read in the droppings of the village herd. A new and strange age is upon us. For divine guidance, we humbly bid you to look to your local temple leaders, and to forward such relevant materials to them. Yours ever seeking, Brevek Fëanor, Servant of Ogma. I don't know if they're actually sending the droppings themselves, or they're just reading the message in the droppings and noting what they say and trying to pass on that information, but either way, it's pretty wild. Its edges are charred and stained with a liquid of suspicious origin. This is the Toll House ledger that we found in the basement. And this one's kind of dry, but it does contain details of a Toll House's takings for the current year, which is 1492. Most entries are neatly written, listing the travelers and the amount of gold paid, but the text on the most recent page is smudged and rambling. Little dry, but it's still kind of important. It gives you an insight into what's going on currently in the world. 9 Marpenoth, 4 merchants with single wagon of sundries, 25 gold. 12 Marpenoth, Flaming Fist Company, 15 fists and gauntlet, 100 gold fee, waived. Fists don't pay tolls, they extort. 21 Marpenoth, brewer and 2 guards, bringing kegs to Joaquin's Rest, 35 gold. 2 Uktar, 7 farmers, no goods, no gold. Wounded, warned us to leave. 3 Uktar, sent courier to request extra guards or relief. 7 Uktar, more farmers, too many to count, no goods, carrying their own dead. 11 Uktar, road untenable. 16 Uktar, preparing to abandon post. See? Things are starting to get pretty intense around here. I think this is the last letter. Yes, this is the last letter that was found on Gomwick. He was carrying 3 with him on his route. Tough letter, written in a regular scrawl. This letter offers an olive branch. 9 fingers. NF. I won't come back to the city, not while you have your thugs looking for me. If you want the debt paid, you'll have to trust me and collect it yourself. Go to the graveyard and look for where a M. Kerwin is buried. Get digging, and you'll find enough valuables to settle matters between us. Don't go looking for me. I'll know when I'm safe. S. So we have to keep our eyes out for a graveyard now. Traveler's Guide to the Sword Coast, Volume 9, Inns and Guest Houses, a battered volume that's missing its cover and numerous pages. The remainder boasts significant water damage. With the dust of their journey still clinging to boot and cloak, the canny traveler will no doubt seek to secure accommodation within the city, post-haste. Below are some establishments that are typical of what the city has to offer. The Blade and Stars, easily identified by its sign, a wooden shield boasting a curved blade against a field of stars. A handwritten scrawl in the margins notes that the sign is currently not in place. This inn is comfortable, quiet, and highly recommended for travelers seeking to recuperate from their journey. Expect unassuming fare at a reasonable price, moderately clean rooms, and passably clean patrons. Passably clean. Adorable. The Blushing Mermaid. For those seeking an altogether rowdier night in the city, the Blushing Mermaid should be the first port of call. Named for the life-sized wooden mermaid on display, this inn is known for its ill-reputed patrons, frequent brawls, and altogether unsavory reputation. Nevertheless, I feature it here owing to great interest from my readership. I can only advise that you exercise extreme vigilance, should you choose this establishment. Elf Song. Most of this passage is illegible due to water damage, apart from the words and phrases nearest to the inner margins. Dimly lit, proprietor Aelin, disembodied elvish singing voice. Wild. So this book, if you can actually find a copy back in Emerald Enclave, and if you read it before talking to, I don't remember their names, but the 2 tieflings that are talking about going to the city, if you read it before talking to them, you can tell them that you want to go to one of these 3 taverns. And if you suggest the Elf Song, they will agree to meet you there instead of at their home, wherever that ends up being. Traveler's Guide to the Sword Coast, Volume 4, The Risen Road. An old, cheaply bound book that's starting to fall to pieces. The stained, well-thumbed pages filled with traveling advice that seems to be decades out of date. Those who seek to journey to the coast from the interior regions lying to the east will typically seek out the Risen Road. Running parallel to the river Shianthar, the Risen Road provides an overland route all the way from Elturel to Baldur's Gate, and has proven tempting to travelers seeking an alternate to the river barges that sail the Shianthar. A portion of the road, approximately halfway between Elturel and Baldur's Gate, has in recent years developed into an enclave for Selûne worship, with a temple of not insignificant splendor lying near the road. Indeed, an entire village, Moonhaven, has developed alongside the temple, and can provide food and shelter to weary travelers. Farther east lies the citadel of Moonrise Towers, where a toll is required for onward passage of goods and folk alike. Some are tempted to go off-road in order to avoid the toll, however bandits and other dangers may cause them to pay a much steeper price. Traveler's Guide to the Sword Coast, Volume 8, The Outer City. Overland travelers nearing Baldur's Gate have been known to smell the city before they clap eyes on it. Gross. This is thanks to what is known as the Outer City, the area that houses much of what Baldur's Gate needs to survive and thrive, but at the same time would rather not keep within its walls. Canneries, stockyards, slaughterhouses, salt works, and less than regulated markets abound here, as well as shanties and camps for the less fortunate souls who are drawn to the city. It is the author's firm opinion that respectable travelers should never dawdle in such a place, no matter how tempting its base attractions may be after a long journey. Instead, they should make their way promptly, while paying strict attention to any valuables on their person or in their baggage, then see about presenting themselves to one of the main entrances to the lower city, such as the famed Basilisk Gate. Once entry has been secured, they can consider themselves in the city proper. And that is it for our reading section. In the YouTube video, these will be in the back of the video, but I didn't want to get too far behind in case we find a lot more this session, so I decided to read them up front. With that being said, these three aren't actually readable, like you can't read them, but they do have descriptions which are interesting. The child's drawing is a depiction of a happy, sunlit scene. The faded blueprints contain 4 meticulous drawings of different weapons, but weather and age have blotted the ink and made the writing illegible. This one, though it looks like it once detailed important instructions, has turned brittle, and most of its writing has long faded. Those are quest-related, but they are not quest items. So this one clues you into the fact that there's different weapons that you can create later, and there's actually an achievement for it the first time that you do it. We have not read Volume 7 of this book. Liara, Lady of Deception, the goddess who wears many masks. Invoke her name. Avoid perception. She hides your lies and secret tasks. For joy, to Liara, you must call and worship her through soul-felt dance. So find her presence in fest halls. Do not give idleness a chance. Leviatar's pleasure is your pain, your scars an offering. Scourge or candle, whip or cane, can your devotion bring. An open heresy. This pamphlet is written in simple, bold script for ease of reading, and has no signature, save a black circle at the bottom. Few recognize Shar as a goddess of creation, or Selûne as a goddess of destruction, yet both are true. Born in the primordial ebb and flow of time, they forged Aber-Toril together, and Shantae, the mother of life, sprung into existence. Light and dark hung in perfect balance, embraced by Shar, enlightened by Selûne. Yet their creations were cold and distant, and Shantae prayed for warmth. This simple request divided the sisters, driving them to conflict, but it was Selûne that forced true flame into Aber-Toril, sparking the sun. How could Shar not be harmed by such a betrayal, forced to war against both the light of the sun and the light of the moon? As the goddesses tore each other asunder, they formed new gods and new conflicts, all for the sake of a little warmth. The lesson is this: to put selfish comforts over the fate of existence is folly. For those who understand, the Lady of Loss is always listening. This is an apothecary's ledger. This one was found in the above the where we found Shovel and the Necromancy of Thay. A notebook with cultivation techniques for a variety of plants. The ledger is filled with cultivation instructions for a range of medicinal plants. One entry is underlined: deliver specially requested plants to the cellar. Keep away from prying eyes. So this is a clue that there is a hidden cellar, and there's things in there that, you know, the public shouldn't be seeing necessarily. Barkus's log. This is depressing. I have never read this before. I'm so mad at myself that he died. A well-maintained but evidently weather-worn journal containing the notes of one Barkus route. Locations of interest: Elfsong Tavern, Blushing Mermaid, Moonhaven Ruins, and the Underdark. Wolbrin, likely taken by force. Interview unsavory elements known and unknown. I will find him. Dear Wolbrin's mother. What's her name? I write to inquire. I write to inform. I write in relation to flames. 2 flames and then a bunch of numbers that I don't understand. Dark Journal. the Journal of Ilantoth. Ilantoth, if you remember, was Shovel's previous master. 6 Nightal, 1371. This was over 120 years ago. I pay no service to the gods, but by some blessing this village believes me and my apprentice to be simple healers. My tattoos are hidden, my red robes locked away, and my lab secured. I have not heard the word Thay since we arrived, and only my apprentice knows me as Ilantoth. This place is not ideal for my research, but I can never return home, not the way I escaped. I'd be put to death, with worse to follow. The work here is simple, and allows me to continue my research at night, but progress is slow. Reanimation seems easy, but restoring life? That prize eludes me. The tomb contains the magic I need, but it fights me at every step, as does my apprentice. At least my familiar has made it easy to secure bodies without raising suspicion. This will take time. Will the Zolkirs find me before I can bring her back? I cannot say, but if they do come for me, they'll have to face the guardians I've raised, which are all the skeletons that you fight when you're down there. Fables of Faerun 1. The Dim-Witted Drow, one of a series of thin tombs illustrating simple lessons to readers of all ages. We've read one of these already. It was the one about the Dwergar who wanted to read minds and control a mind, destroy a mind with a word. And at the end he ends up killing himself. So these ones will be interesting. Long ago in the city of Menzoberranzan, a drow wizard called Zad studied magic in the Academy of Sorcerer. Each 10-day, the Archmage would ask Zad to demonstrate his newfound skills, and each 10-day, Zad would fail. Sorcerer educates only the brightest of pupils, warned the Archmage. Your scholarship must improve, or you will be expelled. That very night, Zad slipped out of Menzoberranzan to seek the hidden city of Mind Flayers, Orendal. The library there boasted the most complete body of knowledge in the whole of the Underdark. I'll learn about all that is and ever was, vowed Zad. The Archmage will have no choice but to keep me. Yet the longer Zad searched for Orendal, the more lost he became. His body weak and his stomach empty, the drow fell to the ground and reality faded. Zad awoke within a vast circular hall lined with tombs and tablets, untold knowledge etched upon them. Orendal. I made it. I will know everything, he exclaimed. A wide smile crossed Zad's face. He barely noticed the tadpole wriggling just above his left eye. Yes, said a voice in Zad's head. Everything. You go and search for the Mind Flayers, you will become a Mind Flayer. Ooh, number 5, The Boy and the Beholder. A shepherd's son tended to his father's flocks on the banks of the Chianthar. The days grew long, and the boy grew bored. To amuse himself, he called out, "Beholder! Beholder!" The shepherd came running, but there was no beholder. The boy pointed and giggled, but the shepherd scolded him. "Do not cry 'Beholder' when there is no beholder. Promise?" "I promise," said the boy. But the next day was as boring as the last. "Beholder!" the boy cried, and his father rushed to his side. The boy laughed and laughed, but the shepherd only frowned and shook his head. 3 days later, the boy spotted a round figure floating in the distance. It had one giant eye in the middle of its face, a mouth full of pointed teeth, and thin stalks growing from it, each with an eye peeking from the tip. "Beholder! Beholder!" he shouted, but no one came. The beholder began to float toward him, and the boy turned and sprinted along the river. He ran and ran until he reached a high bank and could run no more. The boy cried and cowered, bracing for the beholder's deadly ray. Instead, a familiar voice said, "Turn around." The boy turned. There was no beholder, only the shepherd, clad in a woolen cloak. A giant eye was painted on the front, and a toothy mouth below. Vines were sewn to the cloak's edges. "You scared me," sobbed the boy. "That makes us even," said his father, as he dried the boy's tears. The boy never cried "Beholder" again. Basically the boy who cried wolf, yeah. Handwritten note, scented with perfume. Dear Flora, happy birthday. I know I finally finished a painting, and not just any painting. Does it look familiar? I'll give you a hint. It involved me getting down on one knee and you making me the happiest woman alive. I'd best go. I hear silence in the classroom next door, and that is never a good sign. Happy birthday, my love. Amanda. Healer's Log. The forgotten journal of a small-town healer. Patient Samson. Occupation blacksmith. Malady gout. Comments. Samson's become accustomed to the good life since he acquired that new apprentice. I gave him a tincture of autumn crocus and told him to avoid red meat and ale. Patient Branley. Occupation cooper. Malady, large wood splinter in hand. Comments, splinter removed. Wound cleaned, doused in balsam ointment, and bandaged. That's actually a hint if you decide not to break the mirror. It asks you a series of questions, and the balsam ointment being used to treat or disinfect wounds is one of the correct answers. Timic, occupation none, child. Malady, swallowed bottle cork. Comments, no hardness or blockage in stomach. The cork should pass without causing harm. I gave the lad a stern warning. When I was a kid, I swallowed a penny. Don't swallow pennies. Patient Dita. Occupation, apprentice blacksmith. Malady, minor burns to the face and hands. Comments, another burn for Samson's eager young apprentice. The usual treatment was applied, but I urged her to slow her pace at work before she inflicts real harm on herself. Highcliffe's Journal, the private thoughts of an ambitious apprentice. The pupil surpasses the teacher. My master weapons are almost complete. There's just one component left. Samson says the designs are a failure. But what's he know? He can barely see past his own belly. I stashed the prototypes and blueprints for now. But just you wait, Samson. Your legend is fading, and a new one will rise in its place. Inroads by arms dealer Gortash. Now, if you remember when Karlak was talking to us, she mentioned that the person that sold her to Zariel was a man named Gortash. It's the same guy. Nine Fingers. NF. It's like the third time this guy's popped up. Here follows a report on the inroads upstart smuggler Enver Gortash has been making on the illicit arms trade in the Shianthar Valley, though inroads badly understates the case. Annexation would be more apt. The former black market leaders, the Knights of the Shield, and outside the city, the Zentarim, have largely been supplanted by Gortash's operation. Illegal arms have never been a major component of the guild's business, but given his apparent ambitions, it would be unwise to assume that Gortash will stop there. He bears watching closely. Bursar Akhtar. The Moonhaven Logbook, a detailed record of the travelers sighted in Moonhaven Village. This book is filled with the pages and pages of observations, tracking travelers and people in the village. You turn to the final pages. Oliver Singe, merchant, arrives in Moonhaven, departs next day. Kalishite. Stranger, name unknown, passes through. Not Thayan. Reshemi. 3 men in black armor pass through. Not Thayan. Hackett, journeyman, passes through. Not Thayan. 30 Akhtar. Raid. Black armored soldiers. Some damage. Not Thayan, but dangerous. The book's key gem has gone missing. Familiar ordered to watch my apprentice. 14 Nightal. Singe passes through. Doesn't stop. Familiar reports apprentice disappeared near well. Will observe. 18 Nightal. Raid. Same soldiers as before. Townsfolk taken. 20 Nightal. Smoke on the horizon. Raid. So this is talking about Moonhaven is another name of the Blighted Village, I believe. And this is talking about the final times there, the ending of Ilantoth and his apprentice. We will learn more about his apprentice, hopefully in the next session. If not, it'll be the one after that. Old School Book, a weather-worn and faded school attendance book. A school's attendance log fills the ancient pages. As the pages and days progress, more and more pupils' names vanish from the entries. In urgent script, a note in the margin states that someone has to investigate what's becoming of the missing children and their families. Oral Histories of Faerun, Paladin Oathbreakers. A tattered scrap of cloth bearing an image of a rose marks a chapter in this slim volume. This book is comprised of several chapters, one for each cited source. It claims to contain first-hand transcriptions of the oral histories of several storytellers throughout the realm. Chapter 7, Valimar the Outcast, 52 years of age, human paladin, Oathbreaker. Given Valamar's reputation in Athkatla, the city she once called home, I met the former knight officer of the noble and exclusive Order of the Radiant Heart with no small amount of trepidation. She has lived as an outcast for some years now, and the rumors of her character quite preceded her. I spoke to one of the prelates of the order, who described her as a dreadful, sadistic traitor, warning me that to find her would be suicide, that she would kill me before I could speak a single word. He was wrong. When I finally tracked her down, we spoke for hours, and I left with her blessing to share her story. I will not disclose our meeting place, as the order punishes those who violate their vows with beheading. Of course I regret it. Breaking an oath isn't going back on your word. It's not an ethical quandary. It wrenches out a part of your soul. Before, I could call on angels to fight alongside me. I could banish fiends back to the hells and demons to the abyss, all without a thought and a prayer. I lost my voice. I speak, but this isn't my voice. It's an echo, a whisper. Tell them this. Most days, I wish I died rather than breaking my oath. But I'd never take back what I did, what I refused to do. Damn the order. Service became dogma, obedience was virtue, to question was sin. Justice and duty are uncomfortable bedfellows, and eventually, they make bastards of us all. So this is talking about, it's a hint that you can become an oath breaker in this game. So if you play as a paladin, you agree to an oath at the beginning when you choose your class, and you actually have to make the story choices that align with your oath, whatever that means. And if you choose not to, you become what's called an oath breaker. So each of the different oaths give you different powers, and if you become an oath breaker, then you have a whole new set of powers. So the paladins are actually, I think, the only class that has 4 different subclasses instead of the usual 3. Potion of healing recipe. Back to the the story of Zecephalin, or whatever his name is. This small recipe has helped me through a lot. Without my scales, my hide smarts and tears with the slightest touch. While it has never healed me fully, every drop soothes. I hope it might similarly soothe whatever ails you. Someone has filled the rest of this page with repetitions of, "Why is it always healing potions? This goddamn primitive village," and the occasional, "Someday I'll kill that mongrel of a master." Luckily, the recipe itself is still mostly legible. Shovel wrote that. Stir the suspension until a vortex forms, carefully tip in the salts, keep stirring until the salts dissolve, and the solution takes on a red hue. And keep in mind, when in doubt with alchemy, just recall the rule of 3, thrice the same ingredient, forms an extract excellent. Regarding strange riders in these parts, I might as well finish. I mean, yeah, it's only a little bit past 2. A tear near the top of this notice suggests it was once pinned for display and perhaps torn down. The date on this letter has faded with time, but the paper alone indicates great age. My fellow citizens, for fellow citizens we are, like it or not. I print and post multiple copies of this notice in the region at no small expense to myself, because I feel a growing concern and alarm at the presence of strange riders in these parts of late. Many of you will have seen them tramping through our forests and towns under the guise of patrol. They claim they are guardians sent from Elturel to protect the borders of the great and holy nation of Elturgard. Don't be fooled by shining armor or handsome mounts. I never bent the knee to any Elturgard, and I never asked any meddled jester to come peering over my garden fence. As you all know, I'm descended direct from the original Selûnite settlers along these banks, and I have a half-elven great-uncle who will swear but to it. We are peaceable folk, and we get on with the druids well enough, but I pay no fealty or tax to any far-off city I can't even find on a map. I took no small pleasure in telling these thugs just that, and I urge you to do the same. They call themselves Hell Riders. I call them interlopers, and they can bugger off to the hells, them and their city both. With grave concern and serious intent, Damon Briska, proud and free citizen of the Heartlands. Holy shit, I am just now realizing that was written by Damon. No way. No way. That can't be the same Dammon. I gotta look into that. Dammon's the blacksmith, the really cool blacksmith that's helping fix Karlach's heart. That can't be the same Dammon. It can't be. It can't be the same one. I gotta look into that. What's that called? Regarding strange riders in these parts. Ooh. Alright, research notes detailing a series of unholy experiments. Raised dead, failed, gone too long, body decomposed. Reanimation, failed, came back as a ghoul, had to kill again. Speak with dead, failed, answers unhelpful. Clone, failed, needs living tissue. Reanimation plus clone, failed, had to kill both ghouls. Resurrection, failed, why? Magical curse? True resurrection. I have reached the limit of my skills and resources. The book offers help. Dare I accept? That gives me some ideas. The Approachable East, Volume 4, a neatly bound journal written by Ryan Forbeck. A purple dragon is firmly embossed on the cover. What a land is Cormyr. Certainly the geography is dramatic, edged by mountains and sea, filled with forests and swamps. But why dwell on these when the great walls of Suzail loom ahead? One sees the city's walls as one approaches, but there is no understanding them from a distance. It's only as one gets close, and they loom higher, and higher, and higher, that one appreciates the majesty of Suzail. I passed through the gates of the size of castles to enter this magnificent city. The streets are patrolled by elite armored knights known as Purple Dragons, and frequented by nobles in the most elegant fashions. Its port is filled with ships from across the Sea of Fallen Stars, carrying goods from lands I only knew from legends. The docks overflow with fruit, spices, silks, and animal pelts. You will not see a finer market, if you have the golden lions to spend. Also, the harming of cats is strictly forbidden. A thoroughly civilized land. Couldn't agree more. The Collectania Rubrum, a compendium of dark arcana. You turn page after page filled with strange alchemical sketches and formulae. Some are written plainly, some in runes and scripts you barely recognize. There are guides to transmuting metals and recipes for weapons of war, but more than anything else, the book is concerned with reanimating dead flesh. It's another book for the necromancer. Oh, the Diary of Lump the Enlightened. The considered thoughts of the silver-quilled Lump. The triumphs and travels of Lump the Enlightened. Now that I see the truth, I can scarcely remember a time before. At first I thought it the human's thin flesh that bestowed this gift, but I've come to believe it was the circlet she wore. There was crunch in that shoe. The goblin boss, Dror Ragzlin, made a tantalizing proposal. Spare any prey bearing his new god's brand, and feast on the rest. He offered considerable coin in return. Alluding to the fact that he ate that tiefling and ate the circlet that I'm now wearing, which is what made him so smart. The True and Impossible Adventures of Tenebrux Morrow, Volume 1. The manuscript is eye-catching, if only for its lurid and jarring color scheme. An excerpt from the True and Impossible Adventures of Tenebrux Morrow, a pulp serial following the real-life exploits of an interplanar ship's captain. The real Captain Morrow is known never to have left her native Waterdeep, and emerges from her rooms at the Yawning Portal, only to exchange scrawled manuscripts for fresh meals and ink. His red dragon thus dispatched, the knight had no choice but to leap for my ship, crashing to the new bride's deck even as his mount was swallowed by the eerie gloom of the astral plane's shifting tides. Faithful Norrels was upon him instantaneously, clawing and biting. Alas, in vain. Astral projection thwarts even the fury of a tabaxi cabin boy, and the treacherous Githyanki only laughed as Norrel's formless blows passed harmlessly through him. The knight's silver sword came about in an arc that missed Norrel's entirely, but neatly clipped the spiritual cord anchoring the tabaxi's stalwart soul to the plane. I mourned as my faithful feline companion faded from existence, but did not hesitate. The Githyanki only smirked lazily at my charge, anticipating the futile efforts of another bound by the laws of this plane. But that is not, and has never been, Captain Tenebrux Morrow. Unlike poor Norrels, I had entered this plane in my fully fleshed form, a fact I demonstrated by thumping the warrior solidly between the legs. He tumbled over the new bride's rail and down into the mists, even as a fresh horde of dragons rose from the distant dead citadel of Tuanarath. 2 more books, and then we're going to call it a night. The Wonders of Phandalin. Hey, pup. Aged dry pages crack at your touch, but this book is otherwise well preserved. In this year 950 DR, there can hardly be a more prosperous and fortunate town than Phandalin. Phandelver's pact has brought prosperity to this land, splitting the wonders of Wave Echo Cave between gnomes and dwarves. The town now boasts thriving communities of both peoples, living and working together in harmony. We have also tempted human spellweavers from all across the north to our town, who are happy to work side by side with the allies of Phandelver's pact. Mayor Alderleaf invites you to come and witness this miracle yourself. See the powers being uncovered in the Forge of Spells, and the prosperity this power brings. I dare say Neverwinter will soon have a new rival for the title of Jewel of the North. Here we go. Last one, written by good old Volo. This very accurate book is packed full of tales of the grimy streets, raucous taverns, and outlandish characters of Baldur's Gate. A poorly drawn map of a city is captioned in flamboyant script. What follows is the most thorough and accurate account of the city and people of Baldur's Gate, the sordid gem of the Sword Coast. An editor's note in crimson ink follows. V. This volume is startlingly accurate, save for the nonsense about the Black Dragon Grate. It is not alive, no matter how many vagrant hags claim otherwise. Commission someone else to draw the map. E. My throat hurts. That was a lot of reading. That's it for me tonight, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by. Sorry you cut the tail end of that, Seth. I'm normally not on this late, but I had a lot of books to go through. Oh, what a weird stream this has been. We made it most of the way through the Blighted Village. We hit level 4 unexpectedly. We got 2 of the items that we need to make our characters insanely strong. We killed Barkus Root. Fuck. Oh, what a day. I need to fall asleep. I'm crashing. But thanks for everyone that's hung out. You can catch us on YouTube within the next couple of days here. We have a Discord. You can check that out. See when we're going to be on live next. And yeah, have a great night, everyone.